Since my last State of the Collection video, which was uploaded on the 26th of April 2022, I have bought no less than 11 watches and sold 10. The 11 I have bought have all been reviewed, along with a few other watches loaned to me by manufacturers. Firstly, the watches I've sold, and on 2 occasions the watches I've bought and sold since the aforementioned date. Although I love the pictures of the Hemel Sea Dart, and indeed the quality was excellent, I just found there was something clownish about it, and it got flipped within a few weeks. Unfortunately, I lost about 30% of the price as a result. The other watch I bought and sold was the Christopher Ward C63. This watch was superb, and the only reason I sold it was to buy a green GMT version that became available at a very reasonable price. Fortunately, I made a few quid on that one, but certainly not enough to make up for the money I lost on the Hemel. Unfortunately, I'm still suffering a little seller's remorse on a few that I sold. Firstly, the Tudor Contrail. I can't even remember why I sold it, but there must have been something I wanted. The other watch I miss is the Yema Rallygraf. I think I sold this because it was a bit similar to my Christopher Ward C60. All the same, I still miss it. The rest of the watches I sold can be viewed again by watching the start of this video. As I've reviewed all the watches I've bought in some detail, I won't spend much time on any of them. In no particular order, let me begin. Firstly, the Tudor Black Bay 36. Okay, I know this channel is primarily about affordable watches, and this one falls short of qualifying to be a budget price watch. However, if cared for properly, it won't lose any money, especially as I bought it used anyway. It is of course very well made, and although not chronometer graded, its top grade Solita movement does run within that spec. It's superbly comfortable, and the 36mm makes it quite discreet. The design is classic, and surprisingly, the lume on this thing is absolutely outstanding. Next up is the Peren Nera Rogue. I had wanted one of these for a while, but they rarely become available, and when they do, it's normally at a premium. I picked this one up for a reasonable price, and isn't it a beauty? It's got a Solita SW200 movement inside it, but my favourite part of the watch is the unusual bezel. Of all places, it's designed in Romania, although made in Switzerland. A while back I sold my 42mm Glycine Airman Purist. I loved the design but struggled with the 24-hour clock and found it a little bit large. A watch buddy of mine had this one up for sale and it suited the build perfectly. At 40mm it's far more wearable and it's got a double 12 dial, meaning I can actually tell the time with it. If you've ever owned one of these, you know how well made they are. Now one of my present favourites, the Christopher Ward C63 GMT. I just love everything about this watch, from the green dial to the dimensions and the beautiful tied strap. This is the 4th Christopher Ward in my collection, although I've previously owned several more. The Sealander is a range rather than the model, so if you like the look of mine, I suggest you peruse the Christopher Ward site. This Islander ISL 131 with its linen dial was originally loaned to me by Long Island Watches to review. I liked it so much we negotiated a price and it joined the rest of my collection. My only complaint is the transitional levels on the side of the case, as I feel they could be a little bit crisper. However, this isn't an expensive watch. It's a 38mm case that fits most size wrists and it boasts a IOTA 9015 movement. The first Christopher Ward watch I ever owned was a Mark I white version of the C60 with a 43mm case. I ended up selling it because I felt it was too large, but still believe the C60 is a great watch. Now I managed to pick this Mark III up with a 38mm case for a reasonable price, and I love it. This came with the original bracelet, which I ended up fully brushing, and this Christopher Ward hybrid strap. I find myself changing the straps on a fairly regular basis because I just can't make up my mind which one I like the most. It wasn't long ago I sold my Nodus Contrail without the bezel. It had what they call a teal dial, although I would have described it as turquoise. This one became available, and although it cost a little bit more than the non-bezel one I sold, I couldn't resist it. Like all Nodus watches, the quality is absolutely outstanding, and it's one of the few watches I've ever owned that's actually been noticed by a third party. Over the last few years, I've learned to appreciate smaller watches, so in steps my Smith's Commando 36. The Smith's name was recently purchased by Timefactors, and it appears to have been a very wise move, as these sell out as soon as they put them on their website. In fact, you can pay more for a used one than it costs for a new one. That's because of the scarcity. It's extremely well put together, and I especially like the riveted bracelet. For whatever reason, I found a gap in my diver's watch drawer. There were so many homages and other boring dive watches being advertised, so when I saw this one, I was instantly interested. Being a Zelos watch, and having owned several already, I knew the quality would be good, but I just loved the dial colour. This one is titanium, which I don't generally like, but the titanium case on this is so well made it actually looks like stainless steel. Of course the specification is excellent, and the lume on this thing is just crazy. Last, but certainly not least, is my Yema Rallygraf. I'm no lover of chronograph watches, and I don't know many quartz watches either. But how could I resist this, especially when I only paid £170 for this used one and it's in mint condition. It's got a 39mm case, and on this Glycine leather rally strap it's incredibly comfortable. Now I've been asked how I manage my collection and ensure each of my watches gets worn. I'll let you into a secret, I'm not just sad, I'm a bit bonkers. I use a series of spreadsheets. The one you see in front of you records the dates I last wore any of my watches and indicates when they should be worn next. The next one gives me the details of any given watch. The third one is how each layer of my watches is laid out. And finally, details of each watch's movement. Well, this brings me to the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, please click on the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and leave your comments below. I will now cast the camera over my collection, so if you have any questions about any of the watches, please don't hesitate to ask me. Now enjoy the rest of your day.